Alright guys, so I am just gonna do a one-time thing for my global players. So I honestly wouldn't do something like this if it wasn't for the one time. So this is essentially, I'm just gonna call it the roadmap for the entirety of what we are expecting for the global side. I'm gonna say this is pretty much what I think players should be saving for, because over the course of like the next few weeks, next few months, there are going to be a lot of temptations. There are going to be a lot of units that looks really good when you guys are looking at the skills, EX skill descriptions, transcendent skill. They're all going to be looking very nice, and you guys are going to be like, gosh, man, do I just summon for all of them? Well, that's not what you guys should be doing. So I have a kind of like a page for both the arena stuff and then a page for kind of like the general content in a way. In JP, things are just evolving very fast. A lot of unit does have a lot of like crazy abilities. I wouldn't say crazy ability, but they're just racking up a lot of abilities where they can do XYZ, gain certain buffs, whatever. But at the end of the day, I would say when you guys are summoning for like the weekly banners, they're more so that you can clear whatever the weekly events are. So it does not necessarily mean that they are going to for the longevity wise, it does not mean that they are going to perform as good as they should be in a month out, 2 months out, or even like 4 or 5 months out. I know that global, you guys are definitely experiencing that firsthand right now. A lot of current event, like they are getting tough to the point where if you aren't really summoning for like the latest stuff, you can't really beat it. I totally get that. I was playing JP pretty conservatively until I started going ham. So I totally understand the whole process of it. But let's kind of get down to business. This is treated as the arena page. So the top portion, we're just simply going to be talking about the arena aspect of things that I feel like you guys should focus on. I'm not going to cover like nitty gritty like the every single unit that changed the meta, because I think they're pointless, because the arena meta for JP, which will come to global fairly soon, changes way too often. So as far as the cost benefit for a lot of players, it is just not there. So I'm only highlighting like the few units that really made the biggest impact, and I think those are definitely things that you guys should focus on, and etc. So before we are getting the gear skills, I'm not going to explain too much about that. Essentially every classification like your raid, generic, tank, sniper, bombardment, they are getting a set of new skills when you acquire that new abilities. Initially you do have to pay for them. They allow you to buy certain classifications gear skills, and those are definitely dedicated to the players that pays, right? The spends. The first ever banner that we have gotten the gear skills was the F91 Twin Visper, making the F91 at that point in time the strongest unit possible, because it's the only unit that has that. So depending on how you look at it, or depending on how global is handling it, this unit may just be a fodder, because they can just release like a lot of these in different order. So I did actually list all the crossover units in their their chronological release orders, so from left to right, so you guys can follow that. But prior to the gear skills, Meta's coming out next week. It is going to make arena just gonna dominate, because I would say Queen Manza with Metas is truly a unit for global that has absolute damage reduction in a way when you pop EX skill, just with the skill with skill 1 and skill 2. I forgot which one comes first, but I know EX skill does actually give you some damage reduction as well. And then Metas by its own actually gives damage reduction to blue element unit, making Queen Manza just gonna dominate. Everything that comes out in between, don't even worry about it. It's not really gonna hurt it. So the O, for the time being, it is gonna suffer quite a bit, because Queen Manza give a assault status. It is gonna hurt the O, so you do have to be careful on that. But post the gear skills, the O is gonna come back. The O is just gonna hit like a truck, because they lead to EX skill. And imagine how hard it hits right now. but once it gets to the gear skills post that, it hits exponentially hard. Just imagine that, alright? So that's what the O is going to be capable of doing when you acquire the gear skills. So the O is going to come back, and then after that we are going to have the crossover double Zeta with the Hyper Gagi Cannon. And then this combo as well with the Phoenix NTD as well, because same thing as Meptis and Queen Meza, it revives, right? And the worst thing about the double Zeta, it has 500% damage reduction and AoE EXQ. This one I happen to list it out here. So 500 damage reduction for both range and melee, but the catch is every time you take damage, I believe you do take up to 4%, reduce 4% up to 20 seconds. So it does actually go down. So as far as like double Zeta, it's not like a bulletproof tank. You could get hurt, but I would say as far as the survivability aspect of things, it is definitely at a better pace than what the O is offering. At that point in time, like the lethal EXQ from the O, give or take from match to match, it may not matter all that much anymore. So it really depends, because a lot of these units at that point in time does have a lot of like damage mitigation. So the O, you know, when like the O at the point where double Zeta comes out, it may not be that great. Moving forward, we have the Krubely 2.0. So the Krubely 2.0 is actually pretty massive. I did actually list out some of its most impactful feature, which we will kind of talk about once we go into the DPS aspect of things. So the 2.0 Krubely actually works really well on and off view for arena and general content because of what it's offering. AoE EXQ, and it also applies continuous damage, stunning, inflict unavoidable status, and it also protects your raid unit from getting inflicted with the unavoidable status. So it makes pretty much Krubely like a must-have for arena and general content. And then kind of like your last armor unit that's gonna kind of dominate the arena, it is gonna be the Grand Zeon, with a similar unit to Regazzi. So Regazzi, it is kind of like a 2.0 version of the Meptis. It is the improved version than most of your other reviving, not reviving unit, but healer type unit. It acts as like a similar version of like Gang as well. It offers like kind of forcing the enemy onto your armor unit. So once we get to the point where Grand Zeon comes out, Grand Zeon is kind of like the ultimate armor unit, where it gives you a 500% bulletproof damage reduction, where you can't really do much about that. But there's certainly ways you can kind of bypass it, whatnot, but I'm not really going to talk too much about that. But these are kind of like your 4 most impactful units that is going to be coming out over the course of like the next few months for global. I don't know what specific order we're going into, because you guys already know, like the global wise, it does not go in any form or fashion, so I don't want to talk too much about that. But the most current, you can kind of say, arena meta is going to be on your far right. We have G-Self, we have Turn-A, we have LMAP, and then we have the full armor X1 full cloth. Or no, just X1 full cloth. What am I talking about? So without going into too much detail about what they each does, this guy before, so G-Cell came out before X1, and G-Cell right now in my squad can literally handle everyone in a team. I can definitely, you know what, I should actually include the description, but I'm not going to be doing that. Just trust me, bro. It's like a Truggan arena, so that's all you have to know. As far as Turn-A came out before G-Cell, and Turn-A mechanics was it deals like a set amount of high damage to armor unit, which essentially just disintegrate this guy, this guy, and this guy. So I think that was like the main catch of Turn-A. It does like a good set of damage, essentially what it does. And then in terms of LMAP, it just is like a truck. I don't know why. It just is. Skill 2, when you read it, it's like, bro, why are they offering that amount of damage that you can inflict? And the worst thing is the bit. I believe the bit does 6 bits, 3 hits, so you're getting 18 hits in total. And the bit actually does a fairly good amount of damage, regardless of how you look at it. So I was like, bro, are you kidding me? LMAP hitting that hard? I have to get it, and I did. And from time to time, LMAP does contribute quite well in arena if G-Cell fails, but overall, for me personally, I run this guy, and this guy on my arena team, and then whatever else comes out, I run this guy as well because I don't have Grand Xeon, I didn't summon for it, so we have that. As far as X1 Full Club, X1 Full Club is the latest and the greatest last unit standing. It increased virtually everything from increased overall HP, and then damage, EXQ restoration, and everything. So if you happen to have X1 as the last man standing, you can just force close the game because you are going to lose. That's essentially how it is. And then, as I had mentioned, I did lay out kind of like the groundworks for a majority of the crossover unit, or just the 7 of them. I would say, depending on how they handle global, F91 was a good unit for JP, but global may be different, so F91 could be a skip for a lot of players. As for the narrative B2 packs and the unicorn with the hyper mega launcher, I think those are definitely 2 that you guys should be eyeing for specifically because of I would say how versatile they are as far as like being able to do great damage overall. If you want to go for the route of doing high EXQ damage or just doing basic damage with their own weapons, they can both do that. And I can tell you guys that in the near future, contents either want you to deal a high amount of EXQ damage, or you want to do like a lot of like regular damage, which narrative B2 actually does well in both situations. It does not excel specifically in either or, but it just doesn't know where it catches my eyes. And as far as the unicorn one, it does really well EXQ damage, but general content, like for general damage wise, not really, but it's still up there. So that's why I feel like those 2 are like the 2 most flexible, and I feel like those are 2 that they are going to be back to back. Unfortunately, like if they are releasing it on a month basis, they are going to be next to each other for JP, but for global it may be different. But those 2 are going to be my top chaser. And unfortunately for Zeta, with the IQ Claw and the IQ Blaster, Zeta sucks. For whatever reason, like it doesn't sound that bad on paper because for like the first 24 seconds, you're getting up to like 200% stats across the board. But it fails to hit anything because you know why? Because this unit doesn't really gain it does not gain EXQ, or sorry, you cannot activate EXQ for the first 24 seconds as well. So that sucks because you cannot gain any EXQ, or you cannot stack damage with your module. So I think that was like the biggest problem with this unit, and overall it didn't really serve like the biggest purpose in my honest opinion. Like it just sucks in general. So I think weak is not an overstatement by any means. It's sad. And then we will talk about the 3.5 year anniversary unit, that is the Victory 2 ABC and the new Gundam. So I would say new Gundam is probably the one you guys should be focusing on because it does well in just everything, while Victory 2 ABC is kind of lackluster. I wouldn't say it's like a pure damage dealer, or at the same time it's not really like a same unit as like a supporter type unit, but it does a bit of both, and it does actually introduces like a new mechanics, the overcritical, which virtually doesn't serve much because that unit doesn't do a lot of damage. I don't know why. That unit was kind of strange. They pack a lot of things within that kit, but it fails to kind of deliver anything. Yeah, it was pretty short-lived, so I would say Victory 2 ABC you can skip. So overall for the crossover unit, you just want to focus on 4 of them: the narrative, unicorn, the double Zeta, and then potentially the new Gundam. So that is that. Alright, moving on to the DPS side, must have. So these are definitely units that we have not gotten yet for sure. And the next one that should be coming out in very near future, I want to say within like the next couple weeks, that is going to be the Quibbly Orc 2. This one it is essentially treated as a 2.0 Easy 8, but is a broader. It affects a broader scales of unit rather than Easy 8 being selfish to like generic, or sorry, to bombardment only, as well as like extra critical buffing. So it's gonna be a must-have. This guy, I think, was a Gundam Unit 504 BTS, and this one essentially magnifies the amount of EXQ damage you can do, if I recall correctly. So you guys already know EXQ is gonna be a large portion of how the game kind of runs as far as like doing like overall damage. So I feel like it's a must-have. And this one, the brother unit to the Rickazy, I don't think that is, but I don't know the actual name of it, but it just looks like Rickazy. So this one, treat of it as a multiple support unit that is combined into one. It gives you like a bit of overall unit damage up. It actually aggroes armor unit to take the hits and whatnot. So I feel like it's a must-have as well. And then we have the what is it, Razzo custom, the Titan version. It essentially is a damage battery, so it's gonna be a must-have as well. Optional wise, it is going to be the GPU2 with the MLRS missile, whatever that is. Essentially, the EXQ, when you max it out at EXQ level 5, it gives you up to, I believe it was 60 or 90, I think it was 90% damage reduction, or inflict damage to the opponent. So it essentially is just a better overall debuffer to the Phoenix, the yellow one. So I think it's a must-have, but it's definitely optional. I don't really run it like that, but it's kind of there. Alright, so the DPS option, like I listed, are going to be these three. So these are the three that I didn't really mention a lot, or I didn't give a lot of description about them. Like I said again, it inflicts overall EXQ damage to everyone. It inflicts continuous damage, apply unavoidable status and stun, and it does kind of protect your raid unit, so it is kind of nice. And whenever you can inflict unavoidable status and stun to the enemies, this unit quickly does actually do a lot of damage. So great unit to look out for. And like I said again, LMF just hits like a truck. It gives you like a pretty bland generic EXQ overall like package, but once you take a look at the transcendent skill, the skill 1 and skill 2, you guys are just gonna be mind blowing about the amount of damage that it's able to do. So pretty strong. And these are the G-Crux, Gundam G-Crux units. So we have the green close combat G-Crux, and this one is actually a lot more better than some of your other limited unit. You can only activate EXQ one time, but once you activate EXQ, you gain a whole bunch of buffs, from ranging from damage mitigation, damage reduction, to like granting absolute evasion, assault, and just gaining a whole variety of different attack buffs as well. So this unit does actually, it is a strong option right now as well. It hasn't really faded out since it came out. I think this one actually came out right when they started premiering the first episode of G-Crux, so it's been kicking in the live for like the past few months, so pretty nice. And currently the baddest and the hardest hitting unit for general content, like your raid, like your co-op, like your hard co-op, it is going to be the Red Gundam. This is going to be the one that is piloted by Char's Asinable right there, because we have two different versions. A Red Gundam from the UC 0085, and you have one from the 0079. So this one, the main cache of this one, you pop the fattest EXQ damage ever seen in the game. I kid you not. I will probably do a showcase fairly soon because I talk about that, because this unit, for whatever reason, is like an absolute nuclear missile. I'm not exaggerating. Currently there is like a really hard raid going on, and this unit, alongside with some of the other unit, pretty much solos it by its own. I think the overall HP from this unit, or sorry, the overall HP from the enemy is somewhere around the 15 billion, and this unit essentially is responsible for doing 95 or above damage to the boss itself. Alright, I kid you not, this is like the baddest unit you can grab right now. So I don't know, like you guys gotta prioritize. I know there are a lot of summons you guys gotta summon for, but just watch out for those selected fields. Don't be swayed by some other unit that might be strong but they're not. Do not fall for them. But other than that, that's gonna be pretty much it. So this is kind of like the grand scheme of like the world maps that we're looking at, and I think these are kind of like the peak, the kind of like the top 1% of the unit overall. But other than that, that's gonna be pretty much it for me, and I will be catching you guys on the next one.